All right, guys, let's talk about Willy Wonka, everyone's favorite chocolate manufacturer. So, a couple years ago, actually, was it last year? It might have been late last year that the Wonka film, directed by Paul King, who is known for directing the Paddington films, Paul King directed the film Wonka, which was a prequel to Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka version. You know, they did a couple versions, obviously one with Johnny Depp and then one with Gene Wilder. And this Timothée Chalamet prequel film was supposed to be the continuation of the Gene, or I guess the prequel to the Gene Wilder film. But anyways, it was kind of a unique film anyways. I'm sure you saw some similarities between Timothée Chalamet and Gene Wilder, but it was really its own thing, its own prequel kind of film. But it came out last year to great success. I think critically it did quite well, and box office wise it made over $600 million, which is, I mean, if you make $600 million, especially on that budget, it wasn't a small film, for sure. It was nothing close to an indie film, but it wasn't one of those Avengers Endgame cost $300 million to make Fast and Furious 10 kind of films. It wasn't like that at all. And so if you make that kind of money, I mean, and you receive that well, and you got Timothée Chalamet on board, presumably, then yeah, you're going to make a sequel. And so I think it was more of an inevitability, obviously, given Timothée Chalamet's, schedule. If he's got the Bob Dylan movie coming out, and he's going to film Dune Messiah eventually. So, we had to see about that. But we got an update recently from Paul King, Paul King being the director of Wonka, who said that, yeah, they're actually in early development of Wonka 2. And he also said at this point in time, they have about half the script done. They have an early draft and they know where this character is going to go. So again, just some news here, but I wanted to take this time just to talk about Wonka because I thought Wonka was one of the biggest surprises of last year. I thought Timothée Chalamet, look, in Dune Part 2 especially, he proved that to me he could be in these big budget kind of films, but also not just in the big budget films and do well in them, but actually kind of bring that Oscar level prowess that he had. I mean, obviously the council scene, the Fremen council scene in Dune Part 2 was spectacular, and he did some amazing things in Dune Part 2, but he showed also a versatility to him that of course he's been showing off in the Oscar films like Call Me By Your Name and Beautiful Boy and all these other films. But in terms of just the big budget films, the blockbusters, in Wonka he showed he had that charm, he had that warmth in him, that whimsy that I frankly didn't see. In Dune he's playing a very different character, a more stilted, or more subdued, I should say, not stilted character, subdued character in Paul Atreides. But in Wonka, he was warm, he was funny, he was charming. I thought that the accent in the trailer, I remember when the first trailers came out and he was doing that kind of funny accent. I was like, oh, is this going to work for a whole movie? And it did. It totally did. And yes, he's not the best singer. You can tell some parts of it are a little bit auto-tuned and whatnot. I mean, he's not a professional singer, but I mean, the songs were great. I thought that the songs, had a lot of emotion to it. And Wonka last year had one of my favorite lines in a movie recently, honestly. And I think it was Wonka. He was talking to Noodle, that little girl, and he said something like, every good thing started with a dream. And I thought that that was such a beautiful line, such a beautiful line. So yeah, I mean, I had been personally hoping for a Wonka 2, and now it looks like we're on the path to getting it. And I'm honestly pretty excited about it. And I think that, I'm hoping we'll get to see it maybe late 26, maybe early 27. So guys, Wonka 2 is in development. What do you guys think about that? And are you excited? Did you watch Wonka? And what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below.